else today, and I don't want to prolong this. I thought tomorrow pa ang ating deputy. Because I don't wanna take anyone's position. Yeah.
Yeah, most willing to my.
I just like to basically make manifestations and then maybe post some questions which His Honor can give us a quick reply or during the period of amendment if it's necessary.
Yes, it would be an honor, Mr.
Thank
President.
you. So first of all, Mr. President, I'd like to thank the gentleman for the sponsor for mentioning more than once the provisions on sustainability that we had proposed to be included. The reason this is very important, as the sponsor has himself elaborated on, is that we want to ensure that when the bidding process happens, the life cycle of that product or that project is taken into consideration. So we're very happy that His Honor has included that in the bill. I think I'd like to allow people who are listening to these debates understand the importance of this principle. I'd like to give an example which by now I think many people are familiar with. So the use of alternative, more environmentally friendly energy sources. So let's talk about solar panels. So for example, if a public infrastructure project is being bidded and it will now be included the purchase of a certain number of solar panels in anticipation of the high energy cost. So obviously we all know that at the start that will be more expensive, but there's enough evidence to tell us that that is more cost efficient. So for the record, Mr. Sponsor, yung ganitong mga, an example like this, yung solar panel, kaya nang intindihin ng backyan that that is an embedded cost that will, I don't think that's included in the concept of the life cycle, but it is the cost for sustainability. So tama ho ba? Covered ho ba yun?
Yeah, I think the law is general enough to include that, especially when they formulate the guidelines that was asked by the minority leader earlier.
Okay.
I think there's room to put criteria,
Okay.
to put it in the design of the bids or the specifications for the bid, Your Honor.
So I think that's what this representation and perhaps the minority floor leader would like to ensure, that actually we want to ensure that they include that. To me, with all due respect, I don't want it to be a choice. In fact, I would consider it almost a dereliction of their duty if they did not consider those options, because we really live in a time, we already live in a season where we are very conscious of the costs we have to pay now to ensure a safer, healthier, more sustainable future. So maybe that's something we can consider in the period of amendments if it's
Yes,
not
Your Honor.
clear. Yeah.
I will welcome anything to improve it, but I credit the good lady, veteran senator, for introducing that, the concept of sustainability. I think it's something that should permeate all of our laws at every stage of procurement, from the design to the award, even to the disposal, Your Honor. So that is I think there is definitely room for these progressive ideas.
Thank you, Mr. President. And then, similarly, I was having a quick conversation with our Senate President Pro Temp, and both of us, as many of us here, are also supporters of preserving our heritage and culture, and especially given that, I mean, I'm from Metro Manila. I was raised and born in Metro Manila. I was raised all my whole life, studied in Metro Manila, lived in Metro Manila. And we know that it's the second or the most damaged city, the history experts. Manila is the second or the most damaged history in World War II? Second or the most? Second most. So with that, I'm so conscious that, wow, we know when we travel, we don't have as many buildings that were preserved and all that. So now that we are aware and we've reached, I don't know if you can call it maturity of our nation, that we recognize how important history is and we're rebuilding, we're preserving. Is that also covered, Mr. President? And one of the examples our colleague and I were discussing were the Gabaldon schools, which of course the sponsor knows and is a proponent of supporting the Gabaldon schools. But from what I recall, and I'm asking my staff to do a quick calculation, Medyo mahal, di ba? Mahal eh.
Yes.
His Honor and I fight every year to include as much as we can. But it is not cheap, no? And Senator Lauren was quick to point out that let's disabuse ourselves of the belief that preserving history is always more expensive. Hindi naman. Sometimes nga, kaya nga unahan natin, di ba? So it doesn't become more expensive. But there are times that it may be. So the question I would like to pose is, when it does include costs that otherwise would not be included, does our bill have provisions that ensure that the BAC will also take note of that? So for example, between 2 or 3 bidders of a public facility that rightly so should, maybe it's the site of a former city hall and they want to take out the awnings, ano ba tawag dyan? Sorry, I'm not an architect. Yung mga ganyan-ganyan, tatanggalin sa lumang building, ililipat doon. That's more costly than because I'm renovating my house, or my parents' house, which was built in the 1980s. So to take out the wood from one area and to move it to another area is costly. Will this be taken into consideration now and be allowed?
I think so, Your Honor.
Okay.
There is, among the new modes of procurement, there is sufficient room for
For all this.
government agencies who want to do what you mentioned and preserve, according to our heritage law, our cultural heritage law. I think that's 10066. Definitely, there is room for
this.
For doing so,
Okay.
Madam.
And then
Madam Senator.
finally, Mr. President, I am aware that our experts in the health sector were very present and active during the hearings of the bill, no? And I would just like to commend His Honor for taking their concerns into consideration. And may we just get the confirmation that the concerns raised by this sector that has contributed to delays also, and not just delays, but also perhaps the ineffective biddings for these projects have been addressed. That's
Yes,
correct,
yes,
right?
Your Honor. And
Okay.
you, in fact, sponsored a resolution to honor one of the resource persons. That's
Exactly.
Chancellor Menchit Padilla of
Yes.
UP Manila.
We did, Your Honor.
She was one of those who represented the scientific medical community,
Yes.
and she was you honored her because she was recently named a national scientist. So definitely, I think she was the voice of the academe as well as the voice of research, the research community and the science community, Your Honor.
And final point I want to raise, Mr. President, I remember having this discussion a number of times that in our desire to ensure that we are economical we maximize the use of limited resources that we have. It is not wrong, it is not illegal to build beautiful structures. So my question is, and I've had this discussion when I was in the Board of Regents of UP, na ang problema nila is, yun nga, yung nananalo lang yung pinakamura. And so when you look at the buildings in the past, and even private education institutions, yung mga UST, yung mga Siliman, gaganda ng mga lumang building. But now, in the interest of cost saving, we tend to veer towards what's cheaper. So I also wanted to address that, Mr. President, na does this new bill also ensure now that we can take into consideration building beautiful structures? They do not have to be lavish, but as long as they are, well curated, chosen to adapt to the function it's supposed to serve, hindi naman kailangan mag-build ng sobrang nakakaawa.
Opo, hindi. You're spot on, Your Honor. When it comes to things like works of art,
Yes.
scientific, scholarly research, there is no requirement to get the cheapest. That's why we've
Yun.
added.
So that's key. That's
Yes,
key.
Your Honor.
So for example, when you go to the airport, obviously we need functioning aircons. Hindi naman kailangan maarte yung aircon, di ba? Pero yung center point ng airport, kailangan it's very welcoming. Kailangan na nawawaw din natin yung mga
Yes, Your Honor.
yung mga turista na dumadating. Okay, Your Honor, your simple answer is sufficient. I'm happy to hear that. Thank you so much for indulging this representation to clarify some items. Thank you.
Thank you very much to our chair of the Blue Ribbon Committee. Or she's also a co-author because she filed that bill. So not only representing the future generations with sustainability, but also representing the artistic and scientific community who she fights for every budget. So thank you, Senator Cayetano.